Accidents in life often lead us to some of the great inventions of our time and whatnot. I had accidents in my own life that I stumbled into things I should have never learned. I was so advanced in mathematics, winning all the math awards in my schools, and I was advanced in engineering, the old analog engineering, ham radio license, 10 years old, where you have to learn all the mathematics formulas of how electrons flow through wires and other devices, and do incredible calculations to build circuits. You build it soldering wires together, built huge projects. So I got into that, but the biggest accident of all was there were no books describing what a computer was or how they worked. I found a journal in the hall closet. My father was an engineer at Lockheed Martin. A journal, and it started describing how ones and zeros were the mathematics of computers. I sat down on paper, writing ones and zeros and teaching myself how to add them and subtract them. And I read other articles on little logic gates that made decisions like light switches and how they could be combined up to add numbers and things. And I said, oh my gosh, you don't have to be old. You don't have to have any advanced mathematics. If you're 10 years old, you have enough math to totally understand all the stuff that computers are made of. And that's true to this day, except for the radios, which are still old analog electronics. And I said, I'm gonna love this for the rest of my life. I did not think there were jobs in computers. I just wanted to know how to design these things and how to make them and put pieces together, starting with transistors. I could never afford a chip. Eventually, by high school, I stumbled onto a manual that described the insides of a computer, the architecture, like the architecture of this room. And what are the pieces that this room is made out of? Well, I sat down saying, back in elementary school, I did all these science fair projects with hundreds of little logic gates making decisions. Could I, on paper, draw in the logic that will make a computer? And it took me months at first. It's not easy the first time through. And eventually I taught myself how to design a computer. And I got books of the chips that were made. And I started designing better and better and better with fewer and fewer and fewer chips. And I would design every computer that I could get a manual for. IBM computers, Varian computers, digital equipment computers, HP computers, digital equipment, Data General. I loved these machines, and I told my father, okay, a computer with switches and lights for ones and zeros, I understood totally. But I wanted to write programs like I had in high school and college. I wanted to type program into a computer. So I told my dad, someday I am gonna have a 4K mini computer. 4K is the minimum computer memory to have a programming language that you can type programs in. My father said with the I/O, it would cost as much as a house. And I was stunned at the kitchen table, and I said, I'll live in an apartment. That's what I'm talking about, want. If I ever had a formula to own my own computer, I wanted it. I didn't think it was gonna be for a job or anything. It was like, oh, if I saw a puzzle in a store, I could turn the puzzle into numbers, write a program, and have the computer solve the puzzle. These were some of my joys in life. And finally, I did see the formula in my head kind of one night, all the right pieces that I followed all day long. I had a job as an engineer without a college degree. Design engineer for Hewlett-Packard, designing the hottest product in the world, the early Hewlett-Packard handheld calculators. They interviewed me and hired me on the spot because I knew how to design anything. I'd done so much in my life, and here I was. So I had a job, but all of a sudden I was following the parts, and I saw this is the formula to have my 4K computer that will keep me happy for the rest of my life. Anything that comes up in life, you can always make a program, make another program, make another program. You can make infinite programs, and if that's your joy in life, your passion, you'll never be let down once you have that first computer.
Indeed.
So I was going to make it. And by the way, I was inspired. I was inspired by professors of universities meeting every 2 weeks in a club about this size, people throwing out ideas of how our own computers were going to change the world. We'd be able to communicate with each other so fast, and we'd be able to educate better, and the geek who knew how to program would be worth more than the CFO in a company for calculating strategies. And I just wanted to do that. So I built the computer, my first computer. Didn't really design it as a computer. I hastily modified a terminal I had built, because I like interesting things, to get on the early ARPANET when only 6 computers were on it. MIT, Stanford Research Institute, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and a couple others. I had to be on it, so I built a terminal that worked over modem phone lines. I hastily modified it, so instead of typing to a computer over a modem, I typed into my own little microprocessor computer. And I built this thing up, and I was a hero in the club, showing it off every 2 weeks. I gave away my designs for free. I wanted to help the revolution happen. We were using the new word revolution. And I wanted to help all these other people see a design that for $300 they could build a useful computer. And then eventually Steve Jobs came into town, and I said, you gotta come down to the club. I'm gonna show you the excitement. Don't believe a movie that shows him taking me down. I was the one who took him to the club. He'd never been there. I took him down, well, hold on. And people like to go back and change history to fit their images later on. But he came down, he saw all the interest, and he said, we should start a company, not to build a computer. It was to build a part of the computer. And we'd build it for 20 bucks, sell it for 40 bucks, and that was the start, except that I wouldn't do it because I wanted my company, Hewlett-Packard, to build the personal computer. And I proposed it to them and told them what it would be, and I showed them demos, and they turned me down for the first of 5 times.
Oh, God.
Hewlett-Packard, big companies that were in the business just couldn't see that this was going to be valuable. So heck, that let Steve Jobs and I start our company.